Hey team, welcome back to the channel, man. As always, stoked to see you. So today we're gonna go over holistic health and fitness. These are gonna be some standard board questions you're gonna see throughout 2021. And of course, this is the revised FM 7-22. And I'm sure that there are still going to be a lot of changes, and we're gonna talk about some of that throughout this video. So I'm gonna give you some standard questions I think that you can anticipate, as well as some situational questions, which I think that you're going to see a lot more of throughout the year. So if that's what you're into, it's professional development, military news, and all that stuff, man, make sure you subscribe to the channel and click that notification bell so that you can stay up to date on some future content. Now let's get this thing going. I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to leave a short pause. That way, if you want to pause the video, you can answer the question yourself. And then I'm going to give you the book answer. Along the way, I'll give you a few tips and tricks that you can put in your kit bag to make sure that you or your soldiers do well the next time you appear before a promotion or a competition board. All right? So what is the goal of H2F? Right, so the goal of H2F, of course, you know, so the whole book answer, right, soldier readiness, movement lethality, to apply and sustain the right amount of strength, endurance, and speed to meet the demands of training and combat. Now, what did I just say? Right, so the goal of H2F is to be able to prepare our soldiers to train and operate in any environment around the world. Now, so next up, what programs of training are included in the initial phase? Right, so in the initial phase, we're going to think about everything leading up to and including actual reporting to their first duty assignment. So we're talking about all the way down to being a future soldier, basic combat training, AIT, etc. What are the domains of health and fitness? Right, so the domains of health and fitness are physical readiness, nutritional readiness, mental readiness, and spiritual readiness. Next up, what elements reside within mental readiness? So the elements within mental readiness is character, behavior, resilience, cognitive skills, and social activity. And you'll notice, if I need you to break open 7-22 and understand how it's laid out. Because, you know, that's how I built this program, was how 7-22 is laid out from chapter to chapter and how it all builds up and reads together. And the same thing with the old 7-22. Most soldiers did not read it. But I need you to read it. What are the three training cycles? Right, so the three training cycles are the microcycle, the mesocycle, and the macrocycle. And what does each one mean? Right, so micro is just that, it's short. So it's two days to 2 weeks, right? The mesio is going to be between 2 weeks and 6 weeks. And the macro is going to be anything out past 6 weeks. And it's all talking about, you know, your training cycles and your programs and your function and what you're thinking of and how you're putting together a program. Because it should all be leaning forward and towards that long game, right? That long game is what we're playing, not just the short game. What are the components of a program's design? Right, so all these components, you know, it's going to include muscular strength, hypertrophy, muscular endurance, aerobic endurance, anaerobic endurance, and power. What are the three principles of physical readiness? Of course, the three principles of physical readiness is precision, progression, and integration. Now notice that the way I answered that question, I put in part of the question into my answer. The three principles, etc. are. Now you could just fire off precision, progression, and integration. But what happens when you do that? Man, you're not chewing up enough time, right? You got to chew on the fat a little bit. So put in a portion of the question into your answer, and that will help lengthen your answer, number one. Pro tip number two is it'll help the Rolodex in your mind catch up and remember some other details. What is mental readiness? No, mental readiness is not dealing with your first sergeant. I mean, I guess it kind of includes that. So really, it's the capacity to be able to adapt to the presence of risk or adversity, right? Set of traits, skills, and behaviors that's going to help soldiers understand uncertain situations and their mental processes. What does spiritual readiness develop? So spiritual readiness develops the qualities in a person needs in order to get through times of stress, trial, tribulation, hardship, tragedy. These qualities may come from religious or philosophical or human values and form the basis of character, disposition, decision-making, and integrity. How much sleep do most soldiers need to get at night? That's 7 to 8 hours. Does 7-22 also talk about naps? Yes, it does. And those, my friends, are all of my initial questions. I think you should know what I'll consider the standard board questions for holistic health and fitness, or H2F. You'll notice I didn't ask you what the FM that covers H2F is. I didn't ask you what H2F means. These are standard things that you have to know. So now I'm going to give you a couple of situational questions that we can chew on, and then we'll close it out. Make sure you leave some comments down below, and make sure you smash the like button if you've enjoyed the content so far. So a soldier in your formation is attempting to lose weight and add more muscle. How will you coach them towards success? You have a soldier who's trying to lose some weight, right? Now this is what NCOs do, right? We train and we lead soldiers. So as we're putting together, an answer for this, I need you to think about 7-22. I need you to spit out a word or two from 7-22 in your answer. Because if you just come at me with me, well, I'm gonna develop a PT plan we're gonna run, and then we're gonna run some more, and then we're gonna run some more. That's gonna tell me and the board members that you don't know what you're doing. And if you don't know what you're doing, I can't trust you to have soldiers in your charge. So I'm not looking for perfection, right? I don't think that there's a litmus test on situational questions that if you don't meet this specific goal, that you're going to be a no-go on the question. But if you talked about 3 training cycles, remember those? We talked about them. Micro, the meso, and the macro. If you talked about the components of a program's design. And so in this one, we're going to talk about some anaerobic endurance. We're also going to deal with some power, some muscular endurance, because he is trying to build some muscle. And that's how you're going to build a program for the soldier, as well as, looking at their diet. Because that's the number one key to losing weight is diet. And then exercise. So maybe you have them start off making a journal of sorts of what they're doing, what they're consuming, what they're doing on a day-to-day basis, what are they doing on the weekends, how much sleep are they getting at night. All of that matters. So put that into an answer, and then you'll be good to go. Describe the process for selecting exercises as you develop a physical readiness training plan. Because you will note, in 7-22, there are no exercises listed in 7-22. None. Now, old 7-22 listed out and described to standard every single exercise that was authorized. Told you how to do the push-up. Told you how to do the V-up. Told you how to do the row. Told you how to do the plank. Told you how to do all of these things, right? New 7-22 doesn't do that. So how are you going to fit in? The reason why, I think, right, this is not official, what I'm getting ready to tell you, but I think the reason why is because they wanted to enable first-line NCOs to develop a program that was specifically tailored for their soldiers. So what that means is you need to know your soldiers. You need to know their strengths. You need to know their weaknesses. If all your dudes can run 2 miles in 17 minutes, I don't think you need to run 5 times a week. That's what we used to do back when I was a young boot, right? And still green. We need to do better than that. So how Buck Sergeant Stoker would select some exercises would be to identify our weaknesses. And I would start that off with a body fat assessment, and I would start that off with an ACFT. Probably that same week I'd do an APFT styled event as well. Where are our weaknesses, right? What are we weak at? Because I want those weaknesses to become strengths. So I'm going to tailor my PT program about making those weaknesses my strengths. So if anaerobic endurance is my Achilles heel, then that's how I'm going to select exercises. If power is my weak link, then I'm going to build my exercises to increase power where it's needed. And I'm going to throw in all 3 training cycles. Last situational question: how does the mental and spiritual readiness of your team impact your health and fitness plan? The old 7-22 is the same way. Health and fitness was termed and coined a lot broader. It was deemed to be bigger than what we make it out to be on a day-to-day basis. Army recognizes that your physical readiness is linked, right? There's an intangible link between how strong you are physically and how strong you are mentally and spiritually. If you're not present, you can't be present, right? So how are you going to use this recognition to impact your health and fitness plan? Ultimately, what I'm really asking is, how are you going to lead your soldiers holistically? How are you going to be present? How are you going to assess their readiness? I think if we do that, team, I think if we as first line NCOs and section sergeants and platoon sergeants, if we're really getting into and understanding what our soldiers are going through, if we're listening to them, think of how many issues that go on unresolved would never even happen in the first place. That's why this is important. Hey, leave some comments down below. Let me know what you think about this particular study guide for holistic health and fitness. Do you think there's some things that we should have discussed? If so, leave some comments down below. If you did enjoy it, though, man, make sure you smash the like button. Subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell so you can stay up to date on some future content. And as always, until then, you stay out there, you keep grinding, and you stay stoked.